investment advisor. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts. Do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong Advisory and the advertisers heard on this program do not endorse each other or their services. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting dav5k.boston and making a donation today. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong.
It is Chuck, Mike, and Tucker with you here, and we kick things off with obviously the top story being that yesterday, sometime afternoon-ish, we had a preliminary agreement to sign a final memorandum of understanding this Friday that would then lead to a 60-day negotiating period to hopefully come up with a more final deal.
Okay.
That's where we are.
So on Friday of last week, you and I both agreed that it didn't seem like we were substantially closer to anything than we were in the other 40-some-odd times that there was a promised deal to come. There were a couple signs. We noted that Vance was reportedly scheduled to be traveling to the area. There were a few other signs that we pointed to, but not substantially more. Today, I would say we are substantially closer to some form of deal than any time since the war broke out.
So here's what we know and here's what we don't know. On Friday in Geneva, this coming Friday, the memorandum of understanding is expected to be signed. Both sides did indicate that the text was finalized yesterday. They reportedly did an electronic signature of some kind, basically to indicate that they would sign the memorandum this Friday. And no one knows exactly what is in it yet. Both sides are doing their best to, spin it, but no one's seen the actual text. There are a few different versions that are floating around the Twitter sphere. I've read all of them. They all have substantial differences in the actual text, and I can't even prove that any of them are real documents and not just something that was put together by some enterprising young scammer online. So,
do you think they used DocuSign? And did they have the knowledge-based authentication where you have to answer the questions about yourself? Like, what car did you drive? And
enter the 4 characters.
Is that
a Q or no? I can't tell.
Yeah. President
Damn
Trump,
it, I messed up.
Did you own a 1972 Chevy Impala? It's like, you do kind of wonder about that.
What was my first pet's name?
Sorry.
Was it Pepper?
Grand Ayatollah, which of these addresses have you previously lived at? Right? Like, you could see that be like, how is there not?
I forget.
There has to be an SNL skit for this.
Send another one.
Yeah. They're off now, right, for the summer.
Now I'm locked out for 5 minutes.
Got delayed because they failed knowledge-based authentication on DocuSign.
Yeah, the Ayatollah couldn't remember where he lived in 1993, and so we're hung up for a little bit longer. But no, so here's the deal. We still don't have the details on this. In fact, J.D. Vance was on CNBC this morning and said, look, a lot of the details still have to be ironed out on this. There still are, quite a few things that they are trying to finalize. And basically what we're looking for right now is the thing I'm looking for. Because, look, here's the deal. It doesn't really seem like either side wants to go back to just all-out shooting each other. They don't. There have been some skirmishes over the last, couple of weeks, and they've basically all been diffused after, 24 hours. So it's pretty clear that neither side wants to get into an extended, prolonged conflict right now. But I do think the question is, hey, when you see it being reported in various different places that Iran intends to allow for the Strait of Hormuz to open. It is a big question in terms of what does that actually mean? Because on April 7th, when the original ceasefire was signed, one of the things that was widely reported was, hey, the Strait of Hormuz will open. And we clearly have not seen it open in the fashion for which we would describe it as, being open. Widely reported last week that the U.S. has basically at night been trying to escort, convoys of 3 to 5 ships through, not escort, but basically provide navigational guidance to try to get, small numbers of ships through to maintain some flow of oil and other products through the strait for the last several weeks. That's not what we would define as open, and it hasn't been enough to restart production broadly, which is what matters. So the questions that I am looking to have answered as we go here. Show us the actual MOU text. Like, what does it actually do? What does it not do? Number 2, when does the normalization of strait traffic begin? Number 3, what are the allowed levels of normalization for strait traffic? Like, how many ships are they actually, moving through? When do volumes get high enough that you can restart that production? And how quickly can you spool that production up? And so we're just going to watch over the next, month or two and see how things go. There's very much a ticking clock on this in terms of we've talked at length about what we're seeing both in the U.S. and overseas as far as depletions of commercial stockpiles of both crude and refined product. So there is some urgency to get things moving. And as we've seen with Iran in a number of negotiations, they're happy to, dawdle around and say, okay, yes, we know you want to do this, but what does this word mean and what does that mean? So I'm very curious when we're actually going to see ships moving in large enough quantities for it to matter. And by the way, the announcement that we got from the president yesterday via Truth Social, the initial one said, okay, the Strait of Hormuz will open immediately. He then followed up with a second one saying it'll actually open Friday after the memorandum is actually signed in person in Geneva. So we'll see when that traffic actually comes because we don't know. And we're just going to watch and see. And the best time for it to start would be yesterday. But if it can start up, in large enough quantities on Friday, great. Like let's get things moving and stave off some of kind of the worst case scenarios that are still looming out there for every day that things aren't moving.
Obviously, traffic volumes will be reported everywhere, but the IMF actually tracks, arrival of ships and port watch for the Strait of Hormuz and other navigable areas. And
there are a bunch of different companies that do it.
Yeah, there's
probably
plenty of
3 or
different
4
ones that do it. I'm looking at the IMF one to be obvious. It's been,
where do they get their data from? Because I'm guessing it's probably like Vortexa or Kepler, like the 2 big ones. I'm sure the IMF is not counting ships.
The source says just UN Global Platform Port Watch.
Good.
So not sure what that indicates, but yeah, the moving 7-day average has been like 2 after being over 100 prior to the outbreak of war, and so. That's where we have been. That's where everybody will be tracking. And by the way, that is also where you can place bets on what that traffic will look like. And still today, on some of those betting sites, people are putting like a 1 in 3 chance the traffic is returning to normal 2 weeks from now.
So I don't know what we're going to see in terms of, how quickly flows resume there. We'll watch. We'll see what's going on. It's not going to affect anything that happened last week. It's based on what we've heard from the president directly himself. It doesn't sound like traffic's going to resume this week in any large numbers before Friday. So I think we've got a couple more weeks where, at a bare minimum, we've got some continued high draws expected from U.S. inventories. And the question is, how quickly can you get other supplies into the global market to, mitigate that in the coming days and weeks? It's really something where, if you think about it this way, the U.S. at this point is subsidizing the global energy market to the tune of around 2 to 2.5 million barrels a day.
Yeah,
That's
and by
the depletion.
subsidizing, saying, hey, we're exporting and selling it on public markets.
It's subsidizing. We're selling it from the SPR. Like
Right.
it's
U.S.
what it
government
is.
assets. You're right.
Between that and even like the commercial stuff, it's like, okay, you're gonna let us buy oil at $85 a barrel. Fine, like we'll do that because we think it could be higher. A month and a half, 2 months from now. That's why countries are doing that.
Yes.
So the question is, hey, that flow is going to start to slow up from the U.S. in the next 4 to 6 weeks because it can't continue at that pace. Can you get production from the Middle East spooling up to offset that in the interim? You don't need, in order to maintain the balance that you have right now, you don't need the full 12 million barrels on day one. Because the other pieces are, okay, the U.S. is doing that to the tune of 2.5 million barrels a day. Japan and other OECD countries are doing another 1.5 to 2 million barrels a day. That's got, a slightly longer shelf life on it of, till early fall. And then the big question that's in everyone's mind is, hey, China has stopped buying oil, reducing its purchases by about 4 to 5 million barrels a day. How long can that continue, and when do they come back to market? And this is the dance that you have to watch over, the next, I would say, at least 12 weeks or so to see how all of these factors play together. I still think it's incredibly likely that we see some type of late summer jump in energy prices. The magnitude of that move and how long it lasts is going to be an open question based on how quickly flows spool back up. And so we're just going to have to watch over the next, 6 to 12 weeks and see what happens here. Let's take a quick break. When we return, big week for Kevin Warsh as well, chairing his first Fed meeting on Wednesday. We will discuss after this.
The Financial Exchange streams live on YouTube. Subscribe to our page and stay up to date on breaking business news all morning long. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network. Without the right estate plan, your family could face unnecessary costs in the future. The right trust may help your loved ones avoid probate and better protect family assets. Get Cushing & Dolan's new guide called Demystifying the Top 8 Estate Planning Trusts by calling 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or request it online at LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. Every mile can make a difference for a Massachusetts veteran. The DAV 5K Boston returns to Castle Island on Saturday, November 7th for a family-friendly day of community, remembrance, and support. Whether you run the 5K, join the 1 mile walk, or make a donation, your participation helps further the mission of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Honor those who served. Sign up today at dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. One missed retirement deadline could cost you thousands of dollars. Our new guide, Understanding RMDs, breaks down the rules for required minimum distributions, including when you have to take them and what can happen if you get it wrong. This isn't just about taking money out of an account. Your RMDs may affect your tax bracket, the taxation of your Social Security, and even whether you pay higher Medicare premiums. This guide also covers common mistakes people make, like forgetting about old retirement accounts and mishandling inherited IRAs. If you have money in a retirement account, this is information you need to know. Call us right now at 800-393-4001 to get your free copy of Understanding RMDs. That's 800-393-4001 or request the guide online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
In a heartbeat, you could be the difference.
Mark collapsed from cardiac arrest.
9 out of 10 people who suffer cardiac arrest outside the hospital don't survive.
It took 30 minutes of chest compressions to finally feel a pulse.
Most of the time, it's because no one nearby performs CPR. But together, we can change that. Extraordinary things happen when people take action. A small step, a simple skill, a life-saving moment. HeartWalk brings communities together to create health and hope for every heartbeat. Every walker who joins HeartWalk, every dollar donated, means more people trained in CPR, more research, and more life-saving moments for everyone. Take the first step and register for your local HeartWalk. Extraordinary starts with you. Join Heartwalk today. Find your local Heartwalk at heartwalk.org.
Let's talk LDL, aka bad cholesterol. The higher your LDL cholesterol, the higher your risk of a heart attack or stroke. Your health matters. Know your number. Talk to your doctor and get your cholesterol checked. And learn how to help lower your LDL bad cholesterol. Because your health is in your hands. Find out more at heart.org/LDL.
Environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on opportunities to make a difference and go the distance for savvy stewardship of a greener and bluer planet Earth.
Daily financial content in your feed when you want it. Follow the Financial Exchange on Instagram. This is the Financial Exchange.
Piece in the Wall Street Journal here, talking about Kevin Warsh in advance of his first Fed meeting as Fed chair. So Kevin Warsh wants the Fed to stop explaining everything, and this is something that I got to be honest, I tend to agree with.
Yeah.
We've talked at length. Like we've had like the weeks where like, hey, there's no economic data this week, but there's 11 Fed speakers, that are set, and I'm very much in the camp of, hey, stop telling me what you're going to do. And just either do it or don't do it when it comes to the Fed. We don't need 43 different people to explain this, because quite often what you end up with is, hey, I have to be plugged into the exact words that all these speakers are saying, and like this guy's the hawk on the committee, this one is as far dovish as you can get, and blah blah. I like the idea of a Fed that doesn't communicate as much and instead just takes action when needed and does nothing when needed.
Yeah, I think there can be a happy medium with all of this, right? Like, I don't think you need to go back to the Volcker days when they published nothing and you had to guess what the interest rate was. I think there's a role for the Fed to play, and mainly because Congress has kind of assigned this role to them every time that there's a financial crisis, bring the Fed chair out to reassure the public that, and markets especially, that there's a backstop in place there. I think there's some role for that type of thing, but I would agree with you. When we are trying to parse the words of may versus will versus that type of thing, it's not a useful exercise. I don't think it adds any value in an economy where there's some division among Fed members about what the right policy choice is. I don't find a whole lot of value of a Fed chair publishing 17 different speeches. So when it's very clear what should happen, yeah, sure, roll them all out all over the place in their local communities to make it ultimately very clear what the Fed is attempting to do in those moments. 2022 comes to mind when inflation was tearing, 2020 when the markets were falling apart, 2008 when the markets were falling apart. Sure, I think there's some value there. Otherwise, I agree. Be quiet.
Now, the piece that I do think needs to be paid attention to is the sequencing of this and how Warsh goes about it, because there are a few different, again, when we talk about communication as a Fed policy tool, questions that you have. Number one, the SEP, the Summary of Economic Projections. The Fed puts them out 4 times a year at every other meeting. And we do use it to get a sense of, okay, here's what the Fed is thinking about where rates in the economy are going to go. I don't think that this right now is a great time to get rid of the SEP, given the uncertainty surrounding the current inflation picture.
Sure.
And, what it looks like over the next 6 to 12 months. So I think some of this, it's kind of like whenever anyone has a big life event, you move somewhere, you get married, you get a new job, a spouse dies or something like that, I generally give the same advice.
Wait a year.
Don't do anything big for a year.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of hoping that Warsh does the same thing just from a structural perspective, just because even though he's been in the Fed previously, he's been on the outside looking in for the last, 12, 13 years. And I think there's something to be said for, hey, it's kind of a chaotic time right now in the global economy. Give things a year, and then you can say, hey, I've observed X, Y, and Z. I'm going to, change how we, go through policy in these different ways. Even if he doesn't give it a year necessarily, you could look to, okay, as we head towards the fall, Jackson Hole Symposium is usually the last week in August. Okay, give it a few months. Like, don't announce on Wednesday that you're getting rid of the summary of economic projections or this and that. But hey, as you go through the Jackson Hole Symposium, hey, we've conducted a review over the last 2 to 3 months of Fed policy and transmission mechanisms, and we're going to do X, Y, and Z in this fashion. I think that you can basically move in that way without causing any problems, because I do think the Fed communicates too much. I do think the worst time to stop communicating too much is as inflation is, heading north of 4%. But there will have to be a time when you're just like, guys, we need to stop this if he's really serious about moving in that direction.
Yeah, I mean, order of things, you have to build your credibility before you just, end communication.
Yes.
And to be clear, like, maybe not everybody agrees, but Warsh has a credibility problem. I think for...
Until proven otherwise, people are going to view him as someone who was sent there to do the bidding of the president.
Yeah.
And he needs to prove otherwise. And
right.
It's very easy for him to prove otherwise, by the way. All he has to do on Wednesday is come out and say, inflation's too high right now. We can't cut interest rates.
Right.
We'll look to see what we need to do, but if we need to raise rates, we will. If we need to cut rates, we will. And I'm going to take a balanced approach to that. And if he says that and then just shuts up, that'll go along with... People are just nervous that you're going to get on Wednesday, well, we really wanted to cut rates, but we just couldn't get there at this meeting. Yeah. That's not what you want to hear at this one, because that sets the stage for problems further down the road.
This was, like you said, he has experience at the Fed. He was there during the great financial crisis. He argued against a lot of the measures that the Fed took at that time out of concerns for inflation. So if he is anything but an inflation hawk at this meeting, then he's going to face credibility issues, because he pretty much reversed on that when looking for the job of Fed chairman during the last few months, which is understandable given the president's goals. But when he actually gets into the job, when he has his first press conference this week, that will be his opportunity to build that credibility. And I agree, he needs that before he goes and changes the structure of how the Fed operates and communicates.
In terms of the lay of the land heading into this Fed meeting, as of right now, no hikes or cuts projected over the next 5 meetings through the rest of the year. Markets are pricing in, and again, this is where you have to understand that markets are going to be wrong about this. Markets are pricing in a single hike in January of next year. What I can tell you, the Fed never goes one and done in either direction. Sure. We saw it the last 2 falls where the Fed had multiple cuts, 3 different sets. We saw it in 2022. The Fed didn't just hike once. You either go a couple times or you don't go at all. So we'll see how this evolves, but that's what's priced in today. Quick break. Wall Street Watch is next.
Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter @TFE Show. Breaking business news is always first, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. Without the right estate plan, your family could face unnecessary costs in the future. The right trust may help your loved ones avoid probate and better protect family assets. Get Cushing & Dolan's new guide called Demystifying the Top 8 Estate Planning Trusts by calling 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or request it online at LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. affiliated.
This is Michael Valila, Adjutant of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV of Massachusetts has helped me and countless others adjust to civilian life through a variety of incredible programs. Through our local Veterans Assistance Program, we provide necessary services to veterans and their communities, such as food shopping, landscaping, and companionship, but we need your support. You can help by making a donation today. Please visit dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
9 out of 10 people who suffer cardiac arrest outside the hospital don't survive. Most of the time, it's because no one nearby performs CPR. Every walker who joins HeartWalk means more people trained in CPR, more research, and more life-saving moments for everyone. Take the first step and register for your local HeartWalk. Extraordinary starts with you. Find your local HeartWalk at heartwalk.org.
Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. One missed retirement deadline could cost you thousands of dollars. Our new guide, Understanding RMDs, breaks down the rules for required minimum distributions, including when you have to take them and what can happen if you get it wrong. This isn't just about taking money out of an account. Your RMDs may affect your tax bracket, the taxation of your Social Security, and even whether you pay higher Medicare premiums. This guide also covers common mistakes people make, like forgetting about old retirement accounts and mishandling inherited IRAs. If you have money in a retirement account, this is information you need to know. Call us right now at 800-393-4001 to get your free copy of Understanding RMDs. That's 800-393-4001 or request the guide online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Our Senators Edward Markey and Elizabeth Warren and Representative Ayanna Pressley are standing up for radio listeners like us by supporting legislation to keep AM radio in cars. They know the value of local radio in times of emergency. Now it's time for Congress to finish the job and pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act. Learn more at dependonam.com. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
This is Tucker Silva of the Financial Exchange Show, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with your Financial Exchange Quick Tip of the Day. And today we're talking about your new guide, Todd, Demystifying the Top 7 Estate Planning Trusts. If there are younger families out there, should they consider having a trust in place, and what type?
Most people don't think about it when you're young, but if you're a young family, meaning you've got minor children, you might not have a ton of assets yet, but you want to make sure that what you do have is protected for your children. You could probably use a revocable trust. I don't think you need an irrevocable trust, but a revocable trust. You put your assets in. Again, they're going to avoid probate. Again, it may or may not be a big estate tax issue at the moment, but whatever you have, your children can't own, right? They are minors. So you don't necessarily want to leave your assets to a guardian and have the guardian deal with everything when you can design a trust to hold the assets and ensure how and when and where and why they get these assets. Just pick the right trustee, put the language you need in the trust to control it for those children, and the trust will accomplish that task. So just because you're young, folks, doesn't mean you shouldn't think about your estate planning. Sometimes it's not all about the money and the probate and the taxes, but more so about the family behind the estate plan.
The estate planning experts at Cushing & Dolan have been helping families like yours for more than 30 years, and they have written a brand new guide called Demystifying the Top 7 Estate Planning Trusts. Call right now for your free copy, 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request it from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. Time now for Wall Street Watch, tracking the stocks, the data, and the headlines driving markets so far today, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Markets in rally mode to begin the week after the U.S. and Iran agreed to an interim peace deal that would reopen the Strait of Hormuz. sending oil to its lowest level since early March. Wall Street's also readying for Kevin Warsh's first Fed meeting this week. Right now, the Dow is up 1.1%, S&P 500 up 1.5%, NASDAQ up 2.3% or 613 points higher. Russell 2000 is up just over 1% higher. 10-year Treasury yield down 4 basis points at 4.44%, and oil down nearly 6% lower, trading right around $80 a barrel. As expected, energy and travel stocks seeing much attention following the peace deal between the U.S. and Iran. Energy stocks, including APA, Devon Energy, Chevron, and ExxonMobil, are seeing losses of between 2 and 4%. United Airlines, Delta, Carnival, Royal Caribbean are jumping anywhere between 2 and 6% due to lower fuel prices. Meanwhile, some breaking news in the media and streaming space this morning after Fox agreed to acquire Roku for $22 billion, marking Fox's largest acquisition. Roku is the largest streaming platform for connected TVs with a 25% market share, reaching more than 100 million households. Fox shares are falling 17%, while Roku stock down by 2%. And after its history-making IPO on Friday, SpaceX up another 6% today. SpaceX jumped 19% from its IPO price of $135 a share. I'm Tucker Silva, and that is Wall Street Watch.
We got a piece here from the New York Times. Wages are falling, wealth is surging, no wonder Americans are unhappy. I got a few bones to pick here. First, wages in nominal terms are not falling. What I mean by nominal terms is Americans, in terms of their take-home pay, on average, are making more this year than last year.
They are.
Where wages are falling is in what we call real terms, which is the fact that over the last year, inflation has outpaced wage growth by about 1% or so.
Yep.
That tends to be a very short-lived phenomenon because either A, people generally can't spend more than they make for very long, so you can't have inflation run hotter than wage growth, or B, wage growth picks up because companies say, hey, I can't keep my people. I need to pay them more because they keep leaving for other jobs. And so wage growth picks up and runs north of inflation. So you generally don't see inflation outpacing wage gains for very long periods of time. And yet, despite the fact that this just happened in the last month or so, wages being outpaced by inflation, Americans have been saying that they're unhappy about the economy for quite a while now. It's not like it just popped up. Everyone didn't just suddenly wake up in the middle of May and go, hey, you know what? I'm not gaining as much as I'm spending. I need to be upset. I need to register my discontent with... No, that's not how any of this works.
I was going to say, so before the surge in oil prices, which is what, really sparked this... because that's when it surpassed, right? May?
Yeah.
So in February, for instance, wage gains were ahead of inflation.
Mike, not just in February. If you look at the data from the BLS, since Q2 of 22, real median wages, median weekly real earnings, have gone up by about 4%.
Okay.
So we've been seeing about 1% real wage gains per year since mid-2022.
So to defend your point here, in February of this year, the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Survey ran at 56.6. We've been below that threshold on a few occasions. One was the summer of 2022 when inflation was running 9%. The other...
I don't think we should use the Michigan one even though.
I don't think we should either because I think it's broken. But the only other time that it was worse than that was 1980. So in February of this year, when wages were up in real terms, the only time that Michigan Sentiment Survey gave you a worse reading was May of 1980 when oil prices had just finished a decade of being all over the place. Interest rates were huge. Unemployment was high. It is reading worse than it was in 2008 and 2009 back in February. So...
which is not reasonable.
Americans are unhappy for some reason other than real wages.
The Conference Board runs their Consumer Confidence Index, and it's diverged completely from the University of Michigan one, despite the two of them typically correlating pretty well from the 1970s through 2010s.
Okay.
the University of Michigan a couple of years ago moved to an online methodology, and they broke their survey. It gives us completely nonsensical readings like that. Now, it's not to suggest that everything is all well and good in the U.S. economy. I'm not saying that. But sometimes I just look at the way the economy is being talked about, and I can't make heads or tails of it. Like, you've got an unemployment rate at 4.3% right now. The unemployment rate's at 4.3%. There's like 3 other times in the last 80 years that the unemployment rate's been lower than this. And people are just complaining about the job market consistently.
Yeah.
If you do want to have a complaint right now, I do think the inflation piece is one of them. But again, the place that I come back to in terms of Americans just being fed up with the economy is that for the last 7 years now, it's just been one thing after another. It's just there's been no rest, and it's always been like different stuff each year. 2020, hey, everyone go home, stop working. Okay. 2022, hey, everybody come back. Try to buy all this stuff. Oh, you can't? What, you've got 6-month delays on trying to get anything? Okay, fine, that's uncomfortable. 2022, inflation peaked north of 9%. 2023, Silicon Valley Bank blows up. Oh, the banks are failing. 24 and 25, the labor market's slowing. By the way, 25, hey, everyone gets nervous about tariffs. 2026, you got energy prices through the roof again. Like, it's been something new every year for the last 7 years. I think people are just tired, man. And
I guess, I don't know.
And they haven't been able to get their footing. It's like you haven't had any period of sustained normalcy. And the stuff that's been, like, disruptive has been weirdly disruptive. It's not just like the 2010s where it's like, okay, the economy went in the toilet in 2009, and then we just dealt with a slow labor market for 3 or 4 years and, slowly clawed our way back. Like, that was just okay. It was kind of one thing. And we had these peripheral things that we were worried about. It's not that, like, everything was fine then. But it's like every year for the last 7 years, there's been a crisis.
I guess that could help explain it.
And I think people are just exhausted, to be honest. It's like it's like a weird crisis every year. Like, I can't get any of my stuff. Everything went like crazy with pricing and this and that. The labor market now is slowing. What the heck is a tariff? What's a Hormuz? Like, how do I like?
Could be. It's
just
something that we haven't seen
every year.
Something that we haven't seen for a generation, I guess. Really high oil shocks and inflation and things like that are something that we haven't seen for a generation.
Over half the population alive now hasn't lived through that stuff before.
All fair. But it makes me extraordinarily concerned for how the public reacts to when we are dealing with something like 8% unemployment, which is fairly rare. Maybe we only get to 6 or something like that, but we will get there.
Like, it's not that rare.
6%? No, it's not.
No, like 8's not that rare. I mean,
that's my point. Is like we are so obsessed with how terrible the economy is right now, and the unemployment rate is in like the 90th percentile.
We had 5 separate periods since 1975 where unemployment hit 8%. It's basically one every 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's not even every recession. By the way, the tech bubble recession only got us up to like 6.3 by mid-2003. You had the early 1970s recession, only got us to 6% unemployment. So
yeah, we're going to be in crisis mode if that happens again anytime soon.
It's and people will say, well, the economy's different now. Guys, like, don't say that like it's different and it can't happen. As soon as you start saying that, that's when it does happen. Like, just don't jinx it or anything. So, I don't know. I think Americans are unhappy with the economy. I'm not here to tell them, like... Actually, no, I am. I am here to say you can't be as unhappy with the economy right now as you were in 2009 and 2010. Like, you would not want to go back there. If offered a time machine to go back there, you would go back, spend like one day looking for a job and be like, nope, not going to do this. Like, it was just bad then. It's not to say that, overall, Americans aren't struggling. There are plenty that are right now. But to compare it to 2009, 2010 in that kind of environment
doesn't make a lot of sense.
My goodness, like that was like as bad as it gets. Let's take a quick break. When we return, we're talking SpaceX and more generally other space companies as well.
Subscribe now to our YouTube page, where you'll find daily interviews and full shows of the Financial Exchange. We'll get you caught up on anything and everything you might have missed, right here on the Financial Exchange.
This is Susan Powers from the Armstrong Advisory Group. When it comes to Social Security and Medicare, the decisions you make today can have a lasting impact on your retirement. There are key choices to consider, like when to claim, how spousal and survivor options work, and whether your Medicare coverage is aligned with your needs. Without a clear strategy, it's easy to overlook how taxes, income, and healthcare costs all connect. Join us for a complimentary educational seminar on Thursday, June 25th at 5 p.m. at the Marriott in Quincy. We'll help you understand your options and the decisions that come with them. That's Thursday, June 25th at 5 p.m. at the Marriott in Quincy. Reserve your seat today by calling 800-393-4001. That's 800-393-4001 or register online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Estate planning isn't just about writing a will. The right trust can help your family avoid probate, protect your home, reduce estate taxes, and even help shield assets from the cost of long-term care. That's why Cushing & Dolan created a new guide called Demystifying the Top 8 Estate Planning Trusts. Inside, you'll learn the difference between revocable and irrevocable trusts, why some trusts are designed to protect assets from a nursing home, and how certain trusts can keep your family's affairs private. The guide also explains some of the biggest mistakes families make, including creating trusts but never properly funding them. If you've been putting off estate planning, this guide is a great place to start. Call Cushing & Dolan today at 866-848-5699 to get your free copy. That's 866-848-5699 or request it online at legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Sometimes we know what's next. Other times, it's impossible to know. Life can change in an instant. Don't be caught standing by the next time someone's heart stops. Knowing CPR gives you the ability to act and takes you from bystander to lifesaver. CPR is a life-saving skill. Join the nation of lifesavers today by learning CPR at heart.org/nation. National support for CPR education provided by Elevance Health Foundation.
As a busy mom to 4 kids, my to-do list is full.
Trying to fit in exercise, eating right, and prioritizing self-care can feel next to impossible.
While we can't add more hours to the day, we do have a great resource to help.
Go Red for Women has easy tips, tools, and information to help you and your family live a healthier life.
So to all the moms, the aunts, the grandmothers, and amazing women out there doing it all,
visit goredforwomen.org/momlife today.
You take care of them, Go Red for Women will take care of you.
When a heart stops, the clock starts. You are the first responder until help arrives. In that moment, 4 minutes equals brain damage. 6 minutes equals too late in an emergency. The first responder is you. We need you. Will you be ready? Learn CPR. Visit heart.org/nation. That's heart.org/nation.
Is it a stroke? Even if you're not sure, act fast and call 911. Signs can include face drooping on one side, arm weakness, speech difficulty, or not making sense when talking. Time is critical. A stroke requires immediate medical care, which starts as soon as the ambulance arrives. So if you see any sign of stroke, act fast and call 911. Visit mass.gov/stroke, sponsored by the Massachusetts Department of Public Health.
Breaking business and financial news first throughout the day, only here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
So on Friday, we saw the successful IPO of SpaceX. Stock is up another 6 or so percent today after rallying, I don't know, 25 or so percent from its IPO price over the course of Friday. And we got a piece in the Wall Street Journal. Emboldened by SpaceX, investors are piling into all things space. And so what we are seeing is that venture capital funding for space companies, excluding SpaceX, rose to $7.1 billion in 2025 from $2.5 billion a year earlier. And you've also got a number of thematic ETFs focusing on space that are out there these days. You get this quote here. This is from John Gedmark, the chief executive of Astronis, maker of smaller satellites that orbit Earth. Quote, there's just so much more you can do from space.
Yeah, lots more.
So here's the thing. I am about as pro-space as you can get. Love space. And the good news is that there's lots of it up there. It's a big sky. A lot of space up there. The problem is, historically, it's really expensive and dangerous to go to space. We saw this with Blue Origin's rocket blowing up, what was it, a couple weeks ago on the launch pad? Like, this stuff sometimes doesn't work. It's expensive to get it up into space. And even once it's there, if it breaks, you gotta, send the mechanic all the way up there. And, it's kind of a long trip. It's not easy. So I am a big believer in space, but I do question whether, just because of the physics of the whole thing, it's not going to become like flying airplanes.
Not in our lifetime.
It's not. It's just not. What you need in order to escape the gravitational pull of a planet is entirely different from trying to generate lift using a wing. So, there are very real physical problems that you run into that are going to make it challenging. And the problem with space is it is really enticing because of all the benefits of trying to conduct certain things up there. Like, you can have solar panels that are always facing the sun.
You can immediately cool.
It's actually harder to cool.
What?
So here's the thing. Where you don't have air, the idea of absolute zero doesn't really exist because the way that cooling works, it generally requires stuff around you to absorb the heat. There's nothing to absorb the heat the same way, so you have to cool using radiators versus, you can't, it's a different cooling process that you have to use. You can't just be like, hey, put something in space and it cools down.
Shows what I know.
Big fan.
You can't just blow the space air because there is no space air.
No, there's not.
It's fundamentally different. So the problem that you run into on this is, how do you separate who has a good idea that's going to pay off in 10 years from a complete scammer? Because none of this stuff develops quickly.
Right. The other just confusion out there that's worth mentioning, all the indices that track different stocks and different markets and what's included SpaceX to this point, what has not. So NASDAQ has. Russell, you said has, right?
Yes, Russell will pick them up. They both will pick them up on accelerated schedules.
Interestingly, Russell is categorizing SpaceX as a tech company, which, not to say it's wrong, but they categorize Raytheon as an industrial company, and I would have more put them akin to there than a pure play tech company. I know they own Twitter too, so
it's funny.
I don't know. I don't really consider them to be a tech company.
Based on where their revenue comes from right now, I would have put them in communication services because Starlink is the big driver.
So, interesting debate on that front. Not included at all in S&P 500 or S&P indices for the moment.
Sure.
So, I guess big point out there, if you're trying to own this through an index or directly, just really use some caution because there's a lot of stuff when something this big goes public that feels and ends up being a little bit scammy.
A trust can do a lot more than simply pass assets to your family. Certain trusts may help keep your estate out of probate, protect assets for your children, and in some cases, even help reduce estate tax liability. Cushing & Dolan has created a new guide called Demystifying the Top 8 Estate Planning Trusts. It breaks down some of the most commonly used trusts in estate planning, including trusts designed to help families plan for long-term care, protect beneficiaries with special needs, and help keep life insurance proceeds outside of a taxable estate. You'll also learn why simply having a trust isn't enough, because if it isn't properly funded, it may not accomplish the goals you expect. To get your free copy, call Cushing & Dolan today at 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request the guide from their website, LegalExchangeShow.com.
The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and/or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
We got a text in from, I guess not a text, it's a message from someone who was watching on YouTube. The question was, how will the proposed Iran deal impact inflation? The answer is going to be the devil's in the details as far as when transits actually pick up through the Strait of Hormuz, and specifically then when those transits reach a high enough level that oil production can restart in the countries where it has slowed down significantly.
I mean, plain simple answer would be oil prices have fallen recently from a high of $110 a barrel to right now 80.
Yes.
If they stay there, then
gas prices will have gone from around $4.55 probably down into the $3.70 range. Yeah. Somewhere in that's probably where we end up sitting if we stay there on oil.
Plain and simple answer, if they stay there, then we're there. I think the troubling part is that both you and I, Chuck, have had a pretty difficult time explaining why oil was as cheap as it was before. And there are some pretty hard deadlines that seem to be coming here sooner than later that would move oil and gas prices considerably higher. And so, again, if the proposed deal that we actually don't have any details on goes through and traffic starts navigating, presumably, helps inflation. But there's a lot of ifs and perfect things that need to go through for that to happen.
Yeah, we're going to have to watch really closely over the next 4 to 6 weeks in particular is really important. And then we'll see the impacts over, the summer as a whole. But see how traffic moves basically now through mid-July. I think that's a good thing to watch. Quick break here. Hour 2 coming up.
I was 24 when I had a stroke.
I was 35 when I suffered a heart attack.
I was 46.
I was 62.
It's a fact. Cardiovascular disease is the leading cause of death in women.
But we can fight against our #1 killer.
Talk to your doctor about your risk factors.
Know your family history.
Learn the warning signs and symptoms.
Together,
let's go red for women.
Visit GoRedForWomen.org to learn more.
Let's talk LDL. AKA bad cholesterol. The higher your LDL cholesterol, the higher your risk of a heart attack or stroke. Your health matters. Know your number. Talk to your doctor and get your cholesterol checked. And learn how to help lower your LDL bad cholesterol. Because your health is in your hands. Find out more at heart.org/LDL.
Without the right estate plan, your family could face unnecessary costs in the future. The right trust may help your loved ones avoid probate and better protect family assets. Get Cushing & Dolan's new guide called Demystifying the Top 8 Estate Planning Trusts by calling 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or request it online at LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and/or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
This is Michael Valila, Adjutant of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV of Massachusetts has helped me and countless others adjust to civilian life through a variety of incredible programs. Through our local Veterans Assistance Program, we provide necessary services to veterans and their communities, such as food shopping, landscaping, and companionship, but we need your support. You can help by making a donation today. Please visit dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
In a heartbeat, you could be the difference.
Mark collapsed from cardiac arrest.
9 out of 10 people who suffer cardiac arrest outside the hospital don't survive.
It took 30 minutes of chest compressions to finally feel a pulse.
Most of the time, it's because no one nearby performs CPR. But together, we can change that. Extraordinary things happen when people take action. A small step, a simple skill, a life-saving moment. HeartWalk brings communities together to create health and hope for every heartbeat. Every walker who joins HeartWalk, every dollar donated, means more people trained in CPR, more research, and more life-saving moments for everyone. Take the first step and register for your local HeartWalk. Extraordinary starts with you. Join HeartWalk today. Find your local HeartWalk at heartwalk.org.
This is the Money Matters Radio Network, WBNW 1120 AM and W275 CM FM, Concord, Boston. The Money Matters Radio Network. Every mile can make a difference for a Massachusetts veteran. The DAV 5K Boston returns to Castle Island on Saturday, November 7th for a family-friendly day of community, remembrance, and support. Whether you run the 5K, join the 1 mile walk, or make a donation, your participation helps further the mission of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Honor those who served. Sign up today at dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
Our Senators Edward Markey and Elizabeth Warren and Representative Jake Auchincloss are standing up for radio listeners like us by supporting legislation to keep AM radio in cars. They know the value of local radio in times of emergency. Now it's time for Congress to finish the job and pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act. Learn more at dependonam.com. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
A trust can do a lot more than simply pass assets to your family. Certain trusts may help keep your estate out of probate, protect assets for your children, and in some cases, even help reduce estate tax liability. Cushing & Dolan has created a new guide called Demystifying the Top Estate Planning Trusts. It breaks down some of the most commonly used trusts in estate planning, including trusts designed to help families plan for long-term care, protect beneficiaries with special needs, and help keep life insurance proceeds outside of a taxable estate. You'll also learn why simply having a trust isn't enough, because if it isn't properly funded, it may not accomplish the goals you expect. To get your free copy, call Cushing & Dolan today at 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699, or request the guide online at legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and/or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
This is Michael Valila, Adjutant of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV of Massachusetts has helped me and countless others adjust to civilian life through a variety of incredible programs. Through our local Veterans Assistance Program, we provide necessary services to veterans and their communities, such as food shopping, landscaping, and companionship, but we need your support. You can help by making a donation today. Please visit dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
9 out of 10 people who suffer cardiac arrest outside the hospital don't survive. Most of the time, it's because no one nearby performs CPR. Every walker who joins HeartWalk means more people trained in CPR, more research, and more life-saving moments for everyone. Take the first step and register for your local HeartWalk. Extraordinary starts with you. Find your local HeartWalk at heartwalk.org.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group. We've got a guide available this month on required minimum distributions. And, Mike, I want to talk about common mistakes that we see. Sure. Let's start first. People not understanding the difference between inherited and non-inherited IRAs.
Yeah, so if you've ever inherited an account that is retirement in nature, you've dealt with these complicated rules. And to make it more complicated, the rules have changed over the last several years. But suffice to say, unless you meet some very specific scenarios, in most cases, if you inherited an account from a non-spouse, then you're going to have 10 years to empty that account, pay pay any of the taxes that are due on it, and move along. But in addition, there are annual required minimum distributions, and it is very complicated.
What about a situation where someone tries to delay taking their RMD? What kind of problems can you run into there?
Well, one, if you delay your first year RMD, then you're going to have to take 2 in the same year, and that can really add to the tax burden. But more generally, if you just wait to deal with your future RMDs until you're 73 or 75 years old, you just have fewer options. It's going to bump up your income. You may end up paying higher taxes. You may end up paying higher Medicare premiums. Your Social Security could become more taxable. So it pays to plan early when it comes to RMDs.
Our guide this month is titled Understanding RMDs, and there are 2 different ways you can request it. The first, you can go to armstrongadvisory.com and request it there. The second, call 800-393-4001. That number again is 800-393-4001, or request it at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong Advisory and the advertisers heard on this program do not endorse each other or their services. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting dav5k.boston and making a donation today. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong.
It's Chuck, Mike, and Tucker with you. Hope you all had a great weekend. If you haven't managed to catch any of the World Cup on TV, I got to tell you, you've been missing out. If you've missed out on the World Cup on social media,
even better.
You've been missing out as well. The World Cup is just having a. Here's what I'm really enjoying about it. International visitors to the U.S. are realizing how much they love the United States. And likewise, United States citizens are realizing how awesome it is to have, like, giant throngs of people who are, like, obsessed with soccer just coming to party in their cities. It's been quite fantastic, if I may say so myself. If you haven't watched, our show's based in Boston, and if you haven't seen the videos of the Scots basically taking Boston over, you're really doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah.
They
saw photos of them standing on each other's shoulders, getting a peek in through the window to watch a game on the TV, just all sorts of cheeky Scottish
It looked
actions.
like they almost sunk a boat in Boston Harbor, like trying to reenact the Boston Tea Party.
Makes sense.
Like they're everywhere.
But with bagpipes.
And then, of course, I don't know if you caught any of the videos of the Dutch fans in Dallas.
No.
Who are just like taking over streets there. There was a duck with a Mexico jersey on, walking somewhere. I don't know where.
But live duck.
Yes, it was a live duck wearing a Mexico. It was like someone's pet that they were walking. So it's been great. And on the news of the World Cup, stocks are rallying. They're actually rallying because of optimism surrounding maybe a potential normalization of the Strait of Hormuz and things along those lines, following a preliminary signing yesterday in advance of what's expected to be a signing of the Memorandum of Understanding between the U.S. and Iran to open a 60-day negotiating period this Friday. We still are not really seeing much traffic through the Strait of Hormuz at the moment. A couple ships here and there that have passed through, but just to give you a sense of where things are, Maersk, who's one of like the 3 biggest shippers in the world, effectively said they're not making any changes to their operations at the moment. They are waiting to see how things play out. But markets not waiting to see how things play out. Markets are saying, yep, we're all good to go on this. And hopefully that's the case. Hopefully we get things spooled up quickly enough to minimize any further damage as a result of it. Where we sit now, the S&P is up 126 points, about 1.7%. Dow is up 603 points, about 1.2%. And the NASDAQ composite is up 683 points, about 2.6%. So all major U.S. indices in the green. 10-year Treasury, not moving a ton, down 2.4 basis points, was down as much as 5.5 earlier. So 10-year not moving very much. Dollar index is off 0.29% to 99.46. Gold is rallying strongly, though, up 141 an ounce to 43.79. And you've got crude oil, West Texas Intermediate, down 4.45 a barrel to 80.43. AAA national average for gas prices dipped another 0.9 cents overnight to 406 and 5 tenths. So, while everyone was focused on the Middle East and kind of what things looked like there coming into this week, very sneaky big news story that came out over the weekend. Anthropic, who's one of the two biggest standalone AI plays in the world, along with OpenAI.
Yeah, and most experts that I'm talking to are deeming them as the leader in the most advanced models.
But like in terms of just like not just the most advanced, because like Betamax was better than VHS, but they never sold any of them.
Yep.
Except to my dad, who had a Betamax. He did. He lost that one.
Yep.
He actually had really bad luck with AV purchases.
Does he still talk about it and bemoan the fact that it was better than everything else?
No, okay. But like we also had a Laserdisc player growing up, and like those were going to be the big things. Yep. And then
you and every 8th grade science teacher.
And then the DVD player came around and ate its lunch, but it's fine. So Anthropic, here's the deal: they have these models that they rolled out. One of them publicly, the other one not publicly. Mythos was the one that they restricted the use of to just a handful of companies. And then last week, they rolled out what they called the Fable 5 model to paying customers to basically try out for a couple of weeks with the promise that as their compute capacity improved, they'd be able to roll it out more permanently. I'm going to quote here from Bloomberg, just because, again, this is kind of wild here. The extraordinary move by the U.S. to bar foreign access to Anthropic PBC's best AI models underscores the Trump administration's newfound willingness to exert control over a pivotal industry. So basically, the U.S. said you can't have any foreign nationals using this, which Anthropic then said, well, we don't know like that someone in the U.S. isn't a foreign national using it, so
we have no means of doing so.
These models aren't available anywhere. And there's a few different takeaways from this because this is a huge deal.
Yes.
This is a huge deal because a few different things. Number one, Anthropic over the last, year to year and a half, they have been the AI company that has been most pronounced about running around saying, hey, we're developing this technology, but we think it could kill us all.
Mm-hmm.
Like the CEO, Dario Amodei, has been really outspoken like, hey, I need more regulation in this industry because otherwise we're all going to die.
Yeah, he's called for a pause in development. He's, again, whether genuine or not, I think has been more publicly cautious about the development of AI and more concerned about the public impact.
So that's number one. And then Dario, after this came out, was like, oh, I can't believe like this happened. It's like, dude, you can't go running around saying you need more regulation, and then when you get regulated, just not in a way that you like, be like, no, that's not what I meant.
Yeah, but he's pretty new at the job, so yeah.
Well, he might be new at the job, but like...
He's new in terms of leading one of the most influential companies in the world. Anybody would be, but like that he's not...
I mean, that's fine, but the guy's been in the tech industry for like 15 years now.
Yep.
And like he's no dummy, obviously.
Sure.
So that's part number one. Part number two. I've never seen the U.S. government look to regulate and control how a certain entity or group of entities operates the same way that I'm seeing with this.
I was trying to think of the comparison points here.
They must think that whatever they're actually seeing, they have to be nervous about.
It's akin to the types of restrictions we attempted to place on nuclear technology in the 40s, 50s, and 60s.
Whatever they're seeing, they have to be nervous about. So, this goes beyond just marketing from Anthropic. Because, again, they've been out there being Mythos is a real threat, but here we've Okay, I've said all along, yes, part of that can be marketing, but when the U.S. government is saying, no, you can't have any foreign nationals using this, I sit there and I go, okay, it's not just hype. The U.S. government does not want to play into the hype on this. The next piece that's really interesting to me is if you are let me even go before. The way the U.S. government is trying to regulate this is at the model layer. We're regulating the models. You can't use this model. Instead of, you can't use this model when applied to X, Y, or Z.
Meaning they have no means to apply it to X, Y, or Z for the moment.
But the downside to regulating it that way, let's say that you're a company that's depending on these models to run your business. If the U.S. government can come in and just say, that doesn't exist anymore, why am I going to choose that model or suite of models for my business, knowing that at the snap of a finger,
they can shut it down?
It can be shut down, and I can and I might no longer have access to the tools needed to run my business.
Well, I'll also say I can't imagine this can last long. Are you familiar with the idea of multiple discovery? That independently across the globe, when scientific breakthroughs happen, they tend to happen at the same time, even with people not coordinating with each other. I'm pretty certain that there is another research lab somewhere in the world that is going to create something that is 90% as powerful as Anthropic's Mythos pretty soon. And yes, I buy that the U.S. government has legitimate concerns that this could be used for very bad purposes. It can also be used to harden systems and, do good things with it for U.S. users. But that would be my point, is you cannot delay this for a very long time because something else is going to come around that is going to be able to do a lot of the same things, and you don't want it to be, for instance, at the hands of a Chinese tech company.
So I do think that the question that's out there for any company now is, okay, the U.S. government never regulated us from using Excel.
Right.
But they are willing to do so here because there's something that they see that is problematic. How do you build your business structure around a product that can be taken away at the drop of a hat? And in doing so, does that then jeopardize the AI build out because companies will be hesitant to commit to it, not knowing whether that tool will be available long term?
I don't have an answer to that question, Chuck. As a business, you might be willing to roll the dice on that. Because it is that much more powerful, and I think probably in the next few weeks the government will come out with assurances and hold harmlesses with Anthropic to say, okay, you can use it with these customers, and here's how you verify. But you're right, there is going to be some clinging, in the back of your mind concern that, hey, this could just disappear tomorrow.
Let's take a quick break. When we return, trivia's next.
From markets to money to business and financial news, watch The Financial Exchange every day on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button and keep up to date on the market news you need to know. This is The Financial Exchange. Estate planning isn't just about writing a will. The right trust can help your family avoid probate, protect your home, reduce estate taxes, and even help shield assets from the cost of long-term care. That's why Cushing & Dolan created a new guide called Demystifying the Top 8 Estate Planning Trusts. Inside, you'll learn the difference between revocable and irrevocable trusts, why some trusts are designed to protect assets from a nursing home, and how certain trusts can keep your family's affairs private. The guide also explains some of the biggest mistakes families make, including creating trusts but never properly funding them. If you've been putting off estate planning, this guide is a great place to start. Call Cushing & Dolan today at 866-848-5699 to get your free copy. That's 866-848-5699 or request it online at legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. One missed retirement deadline could cost you thousands of dollars. Our new guide, Understanding RMDs, breaks down the rules for required minimum distributions, including when you have to take them and what can happen if you get it wrong. This isn't just about taking money out of an account. Your RMDs may affect your tax bracket, the taxation of your Social Security, and even whether you pay higher Medicare premiums. This guide also covers common mistakes people make, like forgetting about old retirement accounts and mishandling inherited IRAs. If you have money in a retirement account, this is information you need to know. Call us right now at 800-393-4001 to get your free copy of Understanding RMDs. That's 800-393-4001 or request the guide online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
In a heartbeat, you could be the difference.
Mark collapsed from cardiac arrest.
9 out of 10 people who suffer cardiac arrest outside the hospital don't survive.
It took 30 minutes of chest compressions to finally feel a pulse.
Most of the time, it's because no one nearby performs CPR. But together, we can change that. Extraordinary things happen when people take action. A small step, a simple skill, a life-saving moment. HeartWalk brings communities together to create health and hope for every heartbeat. Every walker who joins HeartWalk, every dollar donated, means more people trained in CPR, more research, and more life-saving moments for everyone. Take the first step and register for your local HeartWalk. Extraordinary starts with you. Join HeartWalk today. Find your local HeartWalk at heartwalk.org.
Sometimes we know what's next. Other times, it's impossible to know. Life can change in an instant. Don't be caught standing by the next time someone's heart stops. Knowing CPR gives you the ability to act and takes you from bystander to lifesaver. CPR is a life-saving skill. Join the nation of lifesavers today by learning CPR at heart.org/nation. National support for CPR education provided by Elevance Health Foundation.
Here at the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, we are committed to all students not only attending, but succeeding at school. Your presence is powerful. Share why you attend at doe.mass.edu.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education.
Markets move fast. Follow the Financial Exchange live on X so you never miss a story. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
All right, time for trivia here on the Financial Exchange. The UK is the latest country to join the trend of banning kids under the age of 16 from using social media. The first country to start this trend did so late last year. So our trivia question today, which country was the first to pass a sweeping ban on social media for kids under 16? Once again, which country was the first to pass a sweeping ban on social media for kids under 16? Be the fifth person today to text us at 617-362-1385 with the correct answer, along with keyword trivia, and you'll win a Financial Exchange Show t-shirt. Once again, the fifth correct response to text us to the number 617-362-1385 with the correct answer, along with keyword trivia, will win that t-shirt. See complete contest rules at financialexchangeshow.com.
By the way, we got a text when we were talking about the Anthropic products that have basically been shut down over the weekend because the U.S. government has said, hey, like, we don't want any foreign nationals, using these. Texter texts in, someone put Fable 5 on GitHub. That's how locals use. If one is truly building with AI, local source is the only secure way. This has been proven countless times already with API access changes, etc. Correct. This is where you ultimately end up, is you say, okay, I need an open source model that I'm hosting locally in order to be able to have access to it, rather than a centrally weighted model held by a company, operated, off-site. You don't know, like, what you're going to be able to do with that going forward. Locally hosted, open source, open weight models are where the business is going to go then. And here's the problem with that from a data center build-out perspective. It doesn't work with the amount of money that we're spending on data centers.
Oh, man, who was the company that was building the chips for it was Dell? That was building the chips for the, AI laptops?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't remember. But, yeah, I mean, this does not work very well from a cost structure. I've been thinking about the data center piece of it all from a cybersecurity and from a data security standpoint. Like, you don't know what goes in and what comes out, which is all true. But if it's also from a actual ability to use the models piece, it's pretty problematic.
Piece in the New York Times. Americans aren't money savvy and they're only getting worse. Well, I guess we should just give up then. So I'll quote here. Americans already poor money savvy fell further this year, a worrisome trend, researchers said, because people with weak understanding of basic finances often make poor financial decisions. Yeah, people with weak understanding of anything generally make bad decisions about that. Like, if it's just how it is. On average, adults correctly answer only about half the 28 questions in the Personal Finance Index, a survey of financial knowledge. The average has never topped 52%. This year it was just 47%, the lowest of the 10-year history. Okay, so here's the real thing and why this doesn't matter. Mike, is there any real difference between a group of people answering a survey 47% right and 52% right?
No, 5 percentage points is within the margin of error.
Because it's a 28-question test, okay, and I did the math, Michael. Every question on that 28-question test is worth 3.5%, which means there's probably like a one question, like people this year are getting questions wrong one more time than the best we've ever done.
Well, if you want to feel good or bad about yourself, you can go take a shortened version of this online.
Where can I do it?
It's a shortened 8-question. I looked at it this morning. Personal Finance Index 8-question test is available on the Global Financial Literacy Excellence Center. Just Google search it. You'll find it. And you can take the 8-question test. It's the abridged version of this and test your own financial well-being knowledge.
Ooh, I've got. Can I do mine right now? Actually, no. Can we do it for all of our listeners? Like,
just give them all the questions and the answers, or what are we looking at here? We only have a minute. So
okay,
no.
Let me just do one of them, and we'll just see what they're like. Mark's salary has increased over the past 2 years. What's a plausible reason for this? Number one, the number of workers with Mark's skills increased where he lives and works.
Ooh.
Number two, new technology reduced demand for workers with Mark's skills. 3, Mark completed several training courses at a local college. Or C, don't know.
Don't know.
What do you mean?
I'm just confused about why you would offer don't know as an answer, but okay.
Because you don't know. Maybe don't know is right sometimes.
Okay.
I would go with C personally. Or
Agreed.
3. I realized should we do another one?
Sure.
A household budget cannot be used for which of the following? To track household financial assets, to plan for necessary household expenses, to plan household discretionary spending, or don't know?
Don't know.
I'm going to go A, Bob.
I'm going to go with A as well. Tucker went with don't know again?
Yep.
I'm sorry, Tucker. You did know, and you knew wrong. So the percentage of adults who got these right this year, the first one was 56%. The second one was 49%. Ooh, can we do the one that only 27% of people got right?
Sure.
Actually, we got to go to a quick break.
Okay.
When we come back, we've got the trivia answer, we've got Wall Street Watch, and we're going to ask you the toughest question on the 8 question financial literacy test next.
Bringing the latest financial news straight to your radio every day. It's the Financial Exchange on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Is it a stroke? Even if you're not sure, act fast and call 911. Signs can include face drooping on one side, arm weakness, speech difficulty, or not making sense when talking. Time is critical. A stroke requires immediate medical care, which starts as soon as the ambulance arrives. So if you see any sign of stroke, act fast and call 911. Visit mass.gov/stroke, sponsored by the Massachusetts Department of Public Health.
Our Senators Edward Markey and Elizabeth Warren and Representative James McGovern are standing up for radio listeners like us by supporting legislation to keep AM radio in cars. They know the value of local radio in times of emergency. Now it's time for Congress to finish the job and pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act. Learn more at dependonam.com. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. As you age, the IRS stops asking you to save for retirement and starts insisting that you take money out. Those withdrawals are called required minimum distributions, and if you don't take enough, you could face a penalty of up to 25% of the amount you were supposed to withdraw. If you wait too long to take the first distribution, you could end up with 2 taxable withdrawals in the same year, which might push you into a higher tax bracket or increase your Medicare premiums. Our new guide, Understanding RMDs, covers this issue and others to help you prepare for this important retirement deadline. Get yours today by calling 800-393-4001. That number again is 800-393-4001, or you can request the guide from our website, armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
In a heartbeat, you could be the difference.
Mark collapsed from cardiac arrest.
9 out of 10 people who suffer cardiac arrest outside the hospital don't survive.
It took 30 minutes of chest compressions to finally feel a pulse.
Most of the time, it's because no one nearby performs CPR. But together, we can change that. Extraordinary things happen when people take action. A small step, a simple skill, a life-saving moment. HeartWalk brings communities together to create health and hope for every heartbeat. Every walker who joins HeartWalk, every dollar donated, means more people trained in CPR, more research, and more life-saving moments for everyone. Take the first step and register for your local HeartWalk. Extraordinary starts with you. Join HeartWalk today. Find your local HeartWalk at heartwalk.org.
This is Tucker Silva of the Financial Exchange Show, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with your Financial Exchange quick tip of the day. And today, we're talking about your new guide, Todd, Demystifying the Top 7 Estate Planning Trusts. Now, do you lose control if you transfer your assets to an irrevocable trust in order to protect them from long-term care expenses?
Well, that's great when you mention that irrevocable trust, but limit it to the kind of trust where you're protecting it from the cost of long-term care. Because as the guide says, there's 7 different kinds of trusts that we're trying to demystify. And there's also many kinds of irrevocable trusts out there, not just one type. So many people think there's just one type. But this particular type, where you're trying to protect it from the cost of long-term care expenses, the answer is no. You do not lose control over your assets. There's a whole spectrum of control with irrevocable trusts. And this one, you keep about 95% control. Like You can live in your house. You can sell your house. You can buy another house. You can invest your money. You can manage your money. You can collect the income. Even the tax liability of these trusts are designed to be at your own rate. In other words, they are grantor trusts. You don't even pay any higher income taxes when you have this irrevocable trust. So this kind of trust, folks, you keep control and you protect your assets from the cost of long-term care.
Call right now for your free copy of Cushing & Dolan's comprehensive guide titled Demystifying the Top 7 Estate Planning Trusts. It will help you determine what type of trust is right for you and your family. Call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request it from LegalExchangeShow.com.
The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and/or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. Time now for Wall Street Watch, tracking the stocks, the data, and the headlines driving markets so far today, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Markets are well into the green to begin the week after the U.S. and Iran agreed to an interim peace deal that would reopen the Strait of Hormuz, sending the price of oil lower. Wall Street's also readying for Kevin Warsh's first Fed meeting this week. Right now, the Dow is up 1.25%. S&P 500 up 1.7% or 129 points higher. NASDAQ now up 2.7% or nearly 700 points higher. Russell 2000 is up 0.9%. 10-year Treasury yield is down 2 basis points at 4.45%, and oil down 5%, trading at $80 a barrel. As expected, energy and travel stocks are seeing attention following the interim peace deal between the U.S. and Iran. Energy stocks, including APA, Devon Energy, Chevron, and ExxonMobil, seeing losses. United, Delta, Carnival, and Royal Caribbean are climbing due to lower fuel prices. Meanwhile, some breaking news in the media and streaming space this morning. After Fox agreed to acquire Roku for about $22 billion. Roku is the largest streaming platform for connected TVs with a 25% market share, reaching more than 100 million households. Fox down by 15%, while Roku stock is down nearly 1%. And after its history-making IPO on Friday, SpaceX shares climbing another 8% today. SpaceX jumped 19% on Friday from its IPO price of $135 a share. I'm Tucker Silva, and that is Wall Street Watch. And in the previous segment, we asked you the trivia question: which country was the first to pass a sweeping ban on social media for kids under 16? That would be Australia. And Jack in Charlotte, North Carolina is our winner today, taking home a Financial Exchange Show t-shirt. Congrats to Jack. And we play trivia every day here on the Financial Exchange. See complete contest rules at financialexchangeshow.com.
All right, so we were covering the fact that Americans are basically doing about the same as they've always done on this global financial literacy test, but they did slightly worse last year, and so you get these headlines like Americans are idiots when it comes to finance. And number one,
we are, but we're consistently idiots.
So I don't know that we are.
I'm with you. I'm just,
if you ask these questions to 1,000 people from every country, I'm not sure that there's anywhere that does better or worse necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm just not. So, in any case, we've got this 8-question subset from the test, and I want to read you from the 8-question.
This is the one that gets the least correct answers?
This was the toughest one amongst U.S. adults. Only 27% of adults got this one right, Mike.
Okay.
So I hope you all are listening, and you can prove that you are smarter than 73% of U.S. adults if you get this one question right. That's right, smarter. Not just getting this question right. It says something about you as a person. Catherine is a single 25-year-old worker who's in good health. What type of insurance coverage is she most likely to need in the near term? Is it A, life insurance, B, disability insurance, or C, long-term care insurance, or D, don't know?
I don't know. Canadian Mike making an appearance on this. I wonder how Canadian Mike would answer these questions. I don't know.
He does not. No. Any thoughts, gentlemen?
I'm gonna go with the one that would be most likely to affect a 25-year-old, which would be disability insurance.
Correct. Only 27% of Americans got that.
Interesting.
The surprising part to me, this question did not grade out nearly as challengingly. Challengingly?
Yes.
Fine.
That's a word.
Jose owes $1,000 on a loan that has an interest rate of 20% compounded annually. If he makes no payments on the loan at this interest rate, how many years will it take for the amount to double? A, less than 5 years, B, 5 to 10, C, more than 10.
That is a more challenging question.
I figured that would be tough. Like, I'm not
you
saying...
got to know the rule of 72s there.
Was there a D?
D is...
I don't know.
Thank you, Michael. So, yeah, that one I figured would be tougher, but no, like 40% of Americans were able to get that one right.
Well, that's because we're hopelessly in credit card debts. We've seen it happen.
We are very good at credit card math because we're just used to it at this point. Let's see, which was the easiest one? Oh, okay, here we go. Which statement about investing is correct, Michael? Investing in the stock of a single company is typically safer than investing in a mutual fund that holds shares of many companies in multiple industries. B, investing in a mutual fund that holds shares of many companies in multiple industries is typically safer than investing in the stock of a single company. C, investing in the stock of a single company and investing in a mutual fund that holds shares of many companies are equally safe.
Or
D,
I don't know.
So here's the problem.
That was the best. That was the easiest question on the test. Okay.
Yes. Here's the thing. After almost 20 years of being in the investment industry, I look at these and I'm like, none of
Can't
these.
say that word.
I'm like, none of these answers make sense to regulators.
Yeah.
None of them are right.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But
so where can people go take this test?
So I'm on the TIAA website.
Yeah, TIAA has it as well. 'Cause
They've got just like a PDF that's out there.
Okay.
I Googled, or rather DuckDuckGo'd, personal finance index test.
Yeah.
And the one from TIAA CREF was the one that popped up for me.
Yeah. So if you're interested, you can go test your own financial knowledge on this test and see if you can score better than about half, which is the average. Again, this isn't the exact test. They gave an abbreviated one out there. But when it comes to more complex questions like Social Security and Medicare, even fewer people seem to know the answers to these ones. And so Armstrong Advisory Group, we're putting on a informational evening less than 2 weeks from now, about a week and a half from now, Thursday, June 25th. It's going to be in Quincy, and we're going to be answering the most commonly asked questions that we get about Social Security and Medicare, and we will be getting into all sorts of weeds on this because I've been to one of these before, and there are just a lot of questions that come up from people with real-life scenarios about how it's going to affect them personally, which honestly is what really matters with all of this. We'll be presenting on Social Security and Medicare. When are you eligible? How do you file? What are the loopholes that are still available to take advantage of? What kind of insurance might you need based on your circumstances? If you have those types of questions, it's free to attend. June 25th, 5 p.m. in Quincy. You go to armstrongadvisory.com/events. You can call at 800-393-4001. But while it's free to attend, you do need to register in advance. Again, armstrongadvisory.com/events.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Piece in the Financial Times is titled, AI is revolutionizing the stock market.
Not necessarily for good.
How?
They are making the point that we have before, which is that the major contributors to stock market growth over the last few years, which they count Alphabet, Microsoft, Meta, and Amazon in that cohort. It's not that Apple and others didn't contribute or NVIDIA didn't contribute, but these are the four that they are talking about. Alphabet, Microsoft, Meta combined generated free cash flow of over $200 billion, 4 times the level of a decade before. Amazon doesn't have quite the same free cash flow, but again, tremendous free cash flow, $33 billion in 2024. And the point that they are making is that pretty much all four of them are spending most of that on a race to develop artificial intelligence. And so a big mechanism that existed in markets prior to all this, which was companies buying back their stock with their tremendous profits, is going to be more difficult to do in this day and age. They also point out a company, Apple, that is not doing this. They are, again, pretty similar profile, massively profitable, huge growth. And instead, Apple kind of thinks that their consumer hardware services can just take advantage of AI without having to build it themselves, which is, again, interesting and makes Apple very different from the other big tech companies in this moment.
And we've talked about a number of times, if you're wondering why the other big tech companies are going down this road, if someone says, hey, you can go out and spend $500 billion the next 3 years, and you've got a chance to, increase your revenue by $5 trillion as a result of it, I understand the incentives to do that.
I think there's also a fear component here.
It's also, someone else could come around and do that, and then my business isn't worth what it used to be.
Yeah.
So I understand the incentives to do that, just like how in 2005 and 6, I understood the incentives for banks to make as many mortgage loans as possible.
Sure.
Because you saw what the upside was. Now, obviously, just because you understand the incentives does not mean that those incentives work out in the long run. We saw how the concentration of those incentives in 05 and 06 led to the mortgage blow up. I'm not saying that we get that here, but one of the possibilities that comes out of this is there's too much debt, not enough cash flow, and the whole thing, blows up in these companies' faces. It won't take the big ones down because they have diversified sources of revenue. Like Microsoft, I'm pretty sure, is not going to go out of business if they spend too much on data centers.
Agreed.
Some of the companies might. The companies that don't have diversified sources of revenue, like if this doesn't work out for Anthropic or OpenAI, I could see that maybe they run into problems. Some of the smaller companies trying to play in this pool, Oracle, I could see some problems potentially there. Yeah. So
it seems to me that there is just an incredible amount of execution risk in U.S. equity markets right now. And I don't know how you compare that to other periods of time. There's always execution risk in business. But when you are taking the most profitable businesses in the world and they are all pretty much universally spending all of their profits on an unknown new technology, it sure seems like there's more execution risk to things going well in that space than has really ever existed before.
Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll do a little bit of stack roulette.
The Financial Exchange is now available every day from 11 to noon on SiriusXM's Business Radio Channel 132. Stay informed about the latest from Wall Street, fiscal policy, and breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is live on SiriusXM's Business Radio Channel 132. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Hi, this is Chuck from the Armstrong Advisory Group. Our new guide, Understanding RMDs, explains why required minimum distributions are about more than just withdrawing money from a retirement account. The rules can get complicated fast. An inherited IRA opens up an entirely new set of deadlines with rules to follow, and mistakes can be costly. The IRS can impose a penalty of up to 25% of the amount that should have been distributed. But there also may be opportunities to plan ahead. The guide covers strategies like qualified charitable distributions, reinvesting RMDs, and ways to help manage future tax exposure. To request your free copy, call us today at 800-393-4001. That's 800-393-4001, or request the guide at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Without the right estate plan, your family could face unnecessary costs in the future. The right trust may help your loved ones avoid probate and better protect family assets. Get Cushing & Dolan's new guide called Demystifying the Top 8 Estate Planning Trusts by calling 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699, or request it online at legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. Every mile can make a difference for a Massachusetts veteran. The DHL Exchange on
point does make a fair bit of sense, because I just think about work prior to COVID, right? Like, you worked for a big company. If you were sick that day, you stayed home and you did no work. And these days, like, Chuck, we do this quite frequently. If I'm not feeling well, I just stay at home. I work there, and I don't get everybody else sick, and I don't take a sick day, and I just do some work. And that is the new equilibrium that I think companies are more and more comfortable with, even as they call employees back to the office on a more frequent basis, which does mean, again, it doesn't mean the death of cities. It does mean continued transformation of office space and the value that companies put on that stuff.
What do we think about social media bans for kids?
I think that they aren't likely to be terribly successful, but I'm, on balance, kind of all right with them.
I tend to land in the same place, and the interesting thing, like, if you actually talk to kids, like high schoolers or middle schoolers, what you hear from them is, like, almost always the same. I wish I wasn't on my phone, but everyone else is, so I have to be. Yeah. Like, that's generally what you, like, you don't really get a whole lot of, like, wow, like, I love my phone, this is the, no, it's like, yeah, I like it, but I'd prefer not to do it, all else being equal.
I look at it the same way as I do alcohol and tobacco age requirements, which are, like, on the margin. I think it's probably a good thing. I think we could probably be doing a better job of educating kids about the dangers of drinking, and we have a kind of binge alcohol culture in this country. So, like, I don't think any of those things are healthy. So could we do better? Yeah, but I see why lawmakers are coming to the conclusion that, hey, this is the lowest hanging fruit that we can do.
Yeah, it's, and by the way, like, this is not just happening in, like, this is not something where it's, like, only happening in, like, really tightly controlled authoritarian, environments.
Australia and the United Kingdom.
Well, I mean, again, like, there are very different views on free speech there than, in the U.S. But, like, you go and, like, you look at some of the places that are doing this, and, again, like, it's no surprise, like, China's always had stuff like this. But Brazil, like, I don't really look at Brazil and consider Brazil, like, a bastion of authoritarianism. Generally, I look at Brazil. No, but, like,
it's been a few decades.
You look at Brazil in the last, like, 20, 30 years, and you're like, yeah, there's not really any, like, central government control over much of anything. Like, it's very messy, and they put in place a widespread ban of all kinds of different content for kids under the age of 16. And
so what do you make of the argument that, because I heard an interview with, I think it was a YouTube executive, and I'm not sure if YouTube would even fall into some of these categories, but it sounded like they would in the United Kingdom. They made an argument that I do find compelling, which is we can put in certain guardrails to our platforms. If you push them all off of these platforms, they're going to find other social media outlets, and they're going to be unregulated and more dangerous. Not sure I really buy the argument, but there's something to that.
So as someone who grew up in the 1990s as the internet was emerging and, like, coming into mainstream consciousness, look, there are always a million different places to go on the internet. Yeah, some people are going to be drawn to places that are, worse. Some people are going to be drawn to places that are better. There are plenty of places on very large public sites run by publicly traded companies that have all kinds of problems with them. It's not like you look at, like, Facebook and you're like, oh, everything there is on the up and up. Like, no, there's all kinds of scams and this and that go on. You talk about Roblox as a platform, and there's all kinds of concern about kids being on the platform because of predatory adults. Like, you can look at these big companies, and they're not necessarily, like, these, paragons of virtue either. We know this. Let's take a quick break for the rest of the day. We're going to be back tomorrow, and we won't see you, but you'll listen to us then.